were you hoping this would come out? Like, was this like, I'm going to do this and I hope it comes out because once it's out on a national platform, there's no going back. And and I don't want to put words in your mouth and I'm not able to get it out there. This will help. Or was it like, I'm doing this show and God help me, I have to protect this secret at all costs? Or was it both?
I would say it was somewhat of a combination in that I thought, abusers don't act out in public. They act out in private. And so having the cameras around, and I think this was an unconscious thing at the time, but in looking back, I think I had hopes that if there were cameras around all the time and I was more of a public figure, that he would behave because he could be a good guy. We could have great times together. And so that's the hope that you have as a victim, is that the good times are going to last longer than the bad times. And you keep thinking, if you keep, as I said, changing to keep that lid on the pot, and you keep providing more people around you, more family and friends and more social gatherings, that individual being out in public, it's going to be less volatile. And at first it was. I think that he felt he was going to be loved. He was very narcissistic, and he thought that America was going to fall in love with him, and he could be really charming. So I think he thought he could ride that wave. And at first he was better. And then, with someone like that, who's a rageaholic, you can only fake it for so long.
Right. So a little bit of both. And I mean, isn't it true? And, like part of the profile of an abuser is like that they are charming in public. Like they could charm people. And that's part of people saying like, it can't be that person.
100%. And the other challenging thing, as you bring that up with the girls, and I think especially Adrian, over time, I would get very upset. We'd have a huge fight, and I would cry to my friends, and then we would go to a charity event, and I would have my arm around his arm and hoping that everybody would be nice to him, because I didn't want him to know that they knew that I was sharing what was going on at home. And it was so confusing to them to hear me so upset and crying, and then turn around and be like, hi guys, with him. And they were like, we don't get it. Like, how can you be with this horrible person and act like everything's fine and expect us to like him?
Right. So it was better at first, the cameras. And that's interesting too, that he thought that America would love him. And that
Absolutely.
was part of his. Is that how how did you get him to agree? Was that how you got him to agree to do the show, or that you were going to sign up? Because I imagine you needed his approval, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was all for it. He thought it was going to be great. He thought it'd be great for his business. He saw all the upside. And also with abusers and my former husband, I don't think that they always know that they're an abuser, because they're going to convince you that you bring this out in me. Let me repeat that. They're going to convince you that you bring this out in me. You're the one that causes this. No one like this. But all the red flags were there in my relationship. Truly, he had years of court-ordered anger management with his first wife. Now, that should have been a big red flag in the beginning, but some of us run right by red flags, unfortunately.
And that's part of the profile too, right? You just kind of sweep the red flags under the rug.
Well, absolutely. And you want to believe in the person that you're with and the person that you're falling in love with. And so when they say, oh, my exes were both crazy, well, eventually I realized there was one common denominator to the crazy, and it wasn't the women.
Right. Did you, when you had that scene with like LVP and Camille and Kyle, and then like, you denied it because you were in shock, do you ever go back to something like that, or like a moment and we're just like, this was handed to me, like it was handed to me on a silver platter?